Hey now, Deadheads, we are back again. This time, somewhat rare occasion, we're looking at some CDs instead of some vinyl today. And those CDs in question are the brand new, just came out today, Here Comes Sunshine 1973 boxed set from the Grateful Dead. Just came in from Dead.net. I believe that's a Dead.net exclusive. There's a few versions floating around, or a few similar products floating around, so to avoid confusion, I'm unboxing and talking about today this 17 CD 5-show box set from 1973. I know they had the breakout show of RFK Stadium. June 10th, 1973 also came out today. That's the 4 CD box set, the 3-set wonder, almost 5 hours of Grateful Dead. And then the breakout on vinyl is the same show, 6/10/73, RFK Stadium. That's on 8 LPs and not coming out until next month, and that's not a Dead.net exclusive. I think it's currently showing as sold out on Dead.net, but it is not sold out if you poke around, if you look at other merchants online, other fine vendors of vinyl records. But I'm sure the reason that you clicked on this video is because you want to see what's inside the box, so let's do it. Without further ado, let's open this bad boy up. Put it down real quick. And I'll actually show you the initial unboxing. With these annual CD box sets, they do these beautiful custom mailers. This release was no exception. You see this beautiful custom cardboard mailer as we open it up to reveal the box set. A little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, and a little bit thicker than I expected this year. Some really nice sturdy cardboard. I know in the past there was a few kind of pieces of criticism floating around of the more delicate, the more intricate. I believe those laser cut paper box sets, a little bit more origami involved. This one is still intricate, but it's nice and sturdy, which I really like. When we open it up, the first thing that you see is this printed piece of fabric, and it's actually a tenugui, which is a Japanese multi-purpose cloth. Could be a hand cloth, could be a headband. I think it's also often used as a piece of reusable gift wrap. Would have been nice to see this gift wrapped around the cardboard box set when it came in the mail, but it is really nice to have it in this package nonetheless. When we open up our first of the 5 concerts within this box set, we see the CDs, but we also see a couple pieces of literature. Now there's one booklet, as you can see here, that covers all 5 shows. You've got 2 essays, as well as some production notes from our good friend, Mr. David Lemieux. And then we also have individual essays and liner notes for each of these 5 shows, which is a really nice touch to have those individual liner notes. I'm always complaining about the lack of liner notes on some of the vinyl releases that come through from Grateful Dead Productions, so it's nice to have the liner notes for each of these individual shows. I'll show you there, each in their own individual folio, which is really nice. Now, a common complaint that I've been seeing online is that a few people said that their discs didn't make it into those sleeves, those slots that are prescribed for them, or some of them even made it in but were scratched up. I was fortunate that none of my discs were scratched up. I've had a real heck of a time dealing with Warner and getting some replacement discs for my Dave's Picks 23 release, and so I'm fortunate that I don't have to deal with that for this release. After the final folio, we see a poster at the very back of this. Now, this is based off of a photo collage from 1973. You see the full band, you see Keith and Donna and the rest of all the boys. But this is a nice new drawing based off of that photo collage. And that is what is inside this box. Really exciting stuff, really beautiful stuff. I think, for these annual CD box sets, I believe this is the 15th one, according to David Lemieux's essay. They do a really good job Some of them are a little bit more extravagant than others. If you remember the Pacific Northwest box set or the 30 Trips Around the Sun box set, those were big hulking boxes with some really interesting, accoutrement pieces that were included in them. This is a little bit more subtle. I mean, it takes up a substantial amount of shelf space. I kind of like that they're a little bit more monumental than your traditional digipacks or jewel cases. I know some people replace these cardboard boxes with their own cases as soon as they come in the mail, but I like the shelf presence that these have. And you might be asking, so what does it sound like? How does it sound? And admittedly, I've only listened to the breakout show so far. I've listened to that June 10th, 1973 show from RFK, and it sounds phenomenal. I mean, it's super long. It's on streaming services if you want to check it out before buying this, giving it a shot. But that is, wow, an incredible show. You've got Dickie Betts playing with them. You've got Butch Trucks playing with them. It's just such a phenomenal show. Really understand why they chose that as the breakout, but I've heard really good things about the Kezar Stadium show as well. That is, of course, a famous show for the Grateful Dead. And this run is really interesting, and kind of, I think, the Kezar to RFK really speaks to this run. They weren't on tour during this kind of spring, May into June run. These were a series of one-off Grateful Dead shows that they were playing just on the weekends throughout those couple of months. And they're really interesting. Each of these shows, I believe each and every one of them has a Here Comes Sunshine, maybe only 4 out of 5. You get a lot of Here Comes Sunshine. They're, testing out a lot of those Wake of the Flood songs before the album came out later that year in 1973. But they're also kind of exploring a lot of other things as a business of the Grateful Dead. They this is really the beginning of the era of them playing the big stadium shows. Now, they played some big stadiums before this point, big festivals, especially if you think about 1972 Bickershaw Festival. But this was really that inflection point where they were becoming a really tried and true stadium band at this point, really getting their sea legs in those big environments, and really realizing that they needed a louder sound system, which, as we all know, a few months later they started to develop the Wall of Sound, that massive monumental sound system to fill those big stadiums and arenas. Additionally, they had a lot of business going on. They were starting up Grateful Dead Records, fly-by-night travel. They had their ticketing office. They had their booking agency. They had all of these different business ventures going on in 1973, which made sense that they couldn't really tour at this point because they were spinning up all these new, novel ways of keeping the business alive, keeping all of those people employed within the Grateful Dead organization, friends, family, girlfriends, all of that. So they were very busy at this time, and just a lot changing, not just in their business, in their lives, in their relationships, but musically as well. I think one of the essays in this box set even mentions, if you don't like what you're hearing in 1973 Grateful Dead, just give it a minute and they'll change genres, whether it's jazz, blues, folk, Americana, rock. It's all over the place. It's really that sampler platter of all the genres of the Grateful Dead in a really compact and a really quickly evolving time for the Grateful Dead, or musically quickly evolving time. So really incredible kind of snapshot moment of time for the Grateful Dead. And so those are my initial thoughts for this box set. Now, of course, we've got a lot going on because it's summer. I just caught my 2 city shows, missed my Dark Star, but I've got 2 more opportunities for my first and probably only Dead and Company Dark Star. I'm going to be going to 2 out of the 3 shows in San Francisco, taking part of the family out to San Francisco for a nice little short summer trip, and then those Saturday and Sunday shows out at Oracle Park in San Francisco. So wrapping up the tour and wrapping up touring Dead and Company, those last 2 touring nights. Now, of course, they might do one-offs. I wouldn't be surprised if they do a New Year's Eve night or 2 with Johnny, Bobby, all the boys back together. But this is their final tour. And so that's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more videos about Grateful Dead releases, I typically do vinyl if you poke around on my page, but occasionally these CD box sets or rarities as well. So if you're interested, hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it, and growing my little community here on YouTube. Really appreciate the music, the company, and the community behind the Grateful Dead. That's it for today. Peace.